Oh, you'd think they'd learn by now, but let's see what Chris Kelly here has to say.
I don't know how you have a channel on TikTok spreading false information like this. The United States has
The fucking irony. We're off to a strong start. Let's get into this.
given over $75 billion to Ukraine. This is from the Kiel Institute for the World Economy, and that's just that we know of. We've given over
Cool. Yes, we have given. In fact, I believe the total is 76.8 billion. If you add up everything, from financial aid to weapons and gear, security assistance, grants and loans, and humanitarian effort, it's 76.8 billion. Good job. You're up to date. You're good on that so far. I would like to see proof though on the what we know of. If you really want to know, the U.S. State Department breaks it down, and you can go through every single line item, and you can value this stuff out, and you can verify for yourself. But I'm sure, like, this stuff's all in black and white. You can read and total all of this stuff up, but I'm sure you won't do that because you don't like facts as you claim you do. You like peddling your own propaganda. Again, this is publicly available information. It is not hard to open Google and go to these websites because they're required to document this stuff. But you wouldn't know that because you haven't actually checked, or you have, and you're just intentionally peddling bullshit.
over $100 billion to Ukraine in terms of weapon aid, weapon manufacturing, and loans. I don't see
Again, we have not given 100 billion to Ukraine, but I'll give you credit for one thing. 5% is no longer accurate. The entire U.S. defense budget for 2022 is 877 billion. If you want to go just military, you could say 766, but the military is part of the defense budget. So we're going to go with 877 billion. Now, if we take 76.8 billion divided by 877 billion, we get 8%. So 5% is no longer accurate. It is 8%. I'll give you credit there. He was wrong on the percentage. Let's get back to the video.
and loans. I don't see how you think that it's a problem for the United States. And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, the Budapest Memorandum, the Budapest Memorandum.
Yeah, you're right. I would bring up the Budapest Memorandum because it still applies.
It goes out the window, the Budapest Memorandum, when the Minsk II agreement was broken by.
I'm sorry. I have to clarify. The Mixed Two Agreement. Mixed Two. Are you peddling the pro? You wrote this caption. This isn't auto-generated. You made this. Are you telling me that you're gonna try and cite a source and you don't even know what the name is?
Ukraine. And I don't know why you're defending.
So you're saying that Ukraine broke the Minsk Accords? Okay, let's look at what happened with the Minsk Accords. So the first Minsk Agreement was signed on September 5th, 2014. It was after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And I know what you're thinking. It wasn't Russia, it was LPR and DPR forces. Well, the thing about that is we have stuff like this. Putin, on record, in an interview, admitting that Russian forces were present and invaded in Ukraine and Crimea. And then on top of that, to top it off, we have interviews with people like General Gherkin, Yevgeny Prigozhin, that said they were the ones that led the invasion. You know those little green men, the LPR and DPR forces that had brand new military equipment specifically used by the Russian military, and they had brand new tanks, brand new artillery, brand new rifles, brand new Russian uniforms, but they just didn't have patches on. And I'd love to see where a local militia got so organized that they were able to get brand new tanks and all that stuff straight off the manufacturing line. Love to see that. I'd also love to see the logic behind General Gherkin and Prigozhin just making it up, apparently, when they've come out and admit. And guess what? Yevgeny Prigozhin's dead now, and General Gherkin is in jail because they declared him an enemy of the state for speaking the truth. Now, let's get to the Minsk II agreement. Now, Minsk II was signed on February 12, 2015. Now, what is significant about this one? Well, what's significant is the first one didn't fucking do anything. And the second one is almost exactly the same. Now, as you can see at the top here, the document was signed by the separatist leaders, a Swiss diplomat, the former president of Ukraine, and the Russian ambassador to Ukraine and Russian representative. But guess who had a handle in all of this and had to mediate and got to determine when things were done and when it was signed and delayed things? Vladimir Putin. Now, if the Minsk Accords is supposed to be between Ukraine and the LPR and DPR forces, why is Vladimir Putin having a say in it? Why is Vladimir Putin on the record as saying that the signing should be delayed because the LPR and DPR were making gains and they were surrounding Ukrainian forces, so they should be allowed to finish and take those villages in the agreement because Ukrainian forces were surrounded? Why would he have a say in that? And why would he know what's going on to the extent of knowing each individual village if he's not directly involved? Are you genuinely going to sit here and try to tell me that LPR and DPR forces were just Russian forces, even though, again, their leaders have admitted it? Are you seriously going to sit here and tell me that Ukraine broke the Minsk Accord when it's on record that Russian forces have been firing into Ukraine non-stop since 2014 in the initial invasion? They've never stopped. They have never stopped. You could use Google all you want. Hell, and let's say we go with your logic. I'll use a .ru source. We go with the Russian source. On March 5th in 2014, General Shoigu was asked if Russian forces were conducting operations in Crimea and in Ukraine. He flat out said, it is complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Only to be countered later by Putin openly admitting it. Ironic, huh?
Ukraine, which has the most corrupt government in all of Europe. But don't just take my word for it. I always go back to this article from The Guardian that was released in 2015. It says, "Welcome to Ukraine, the most corrupt nation in Europe." But, major news corporations like The Guardian aren't the only entities to speak on this. Even Bill Gates said that Ukraine was a terribly corrupt country. Here's a tweet.
Cool, yeah, 2015. That was a great article. It did talk about how Ukraine genuinely had a lot of corruption. It tends to happen in post-Soviet countries, especially when they've just gone through a revolution. So, yes, they have had a lot of corruption, and they still do have some corruption. But you said they are still the most corrupt country in the world or in Europe. Let's fact check that. All right, so we're going to go through U.S. News. They're a decently reliable source. They're not too biased. Sometimes they can be, but they lean both directions. So let's look at a list of the most corrupt countries in the world that they have. This is for 2023. So it's recent. Number 10, we have Lebanon. Bangladesh in number 9. Belarus in number 8. Myanmar in number 7. El Salvador in number 6. They're also improving. They've got some work to do, but they're getting there. Zimbabwe in number 5. Mexico number 4. Colombia number 3. Iran number 2. No surprise there. And Russia number 1. So, what does that mean for that 2015 article? And let's clarify, this is public perception. This is what people across the world deem to be the most corrupt countries. But let's do some more research because, this is just public perception. Let's get into some actual data. Right now, we're going to look at transparency.org. Transparency.org is a great website. They even have an index on how they rank everything, whether it's economics, personal freedoms, personal liberties, freedom of speech. They rank all this stuff is through everything. They go through all the political scandals, everything. So, you said Ukraine is still the most corrupt based on a 2015 article. Well, they rank number 116. They're not great by any means, but they're ranked 116th. Definitely not the worst. Now let's see where Russia's ranked. Ooh, 137. In fact, they've gone down a point. So, I don't see how your article holds up, but we'll go to another source. This is tradingeconomics.com. They also rank Ukraine 116. Now, where do they rank Russia? 137. Shocker. So we've now found 3 sources that view Russia as more corrupt than Ukraine. One was a little bit biased because it was just public perception. 2 are very transparent. In fact, one's transparency.org. And they have the data to back it up. So are we going to go off of this or your piece of shit article because it's outdated from 2015? Don't get me wrong. Great article in 2015. Does not apply anymore.
From earlier this year, where Bill Gates said that the Ukrainian government is one of the most corrupt in the world. There's no secret to Ukraine's corruption. Now, when I talk smack on Ukraine, I'm not talking
Yes, they are a post-Soviet country with post-Soviet problems. Look at how hard it was for Poland after the Iron Curtain fell.
about regular civilians that live within the country. I'm speaking on the corrupt government.
Really? You're not speaking on about the people of the country. Is that why you have multiple videos of you just flat out saying fuck Ukraine? Because you know that country consists of people in those country. Those people being blown up by missiles every day, sleeping in their homes at night, and just being attacked for no reason. Are you just saying fuck those people too? Or are you gonna try to tell me that you didn't mean that? You just hate the government. It's either one way or the other. Either fuck Ukraine or just fuck Ukraine's government. You can't have it both ways.
I bet you didn't even know that Zelensky's native language is not Ukrainian. It's Russian. The dude never even had Ukrainian as his native language.
This tells me you know nothing about Ukraine. Yes, the primary language for a lot of Ukrainians is Russian. Do you know why that is? So I'll give you a little bit of history lesson here. Multiple times in Ukrainian history, Russia has conquered them. And do you want to know what Russia has done? Outlawed the Ukrainian language. Multiple times. So it's kind of hard to speak your own native language and make that the dominant language in your country when your people are ethnically exterminated and your language is banned. Kind of makes you not speak your own language, don't you think? And so what if it's Ukraine or if the main language is Russian? Who gives a shit? A lot of central and eastern Ukraine speak Russian. A lot of people in western Ukraine speak Russian. They also speak Ukrainian. Just because they speak one doesn't mean they can't speak the other. And vice versa. This point has no ground. You're just making a straw man argument that has no ground. It does not matter that his primary language was Russian. I don't even get what you're trying to get at here because you're just making up a fucking argument that doesn't exist.
You need to learn history. You need to embrace yourself in culture. Open a book. It's not hard to find this information.
I'm glad. I think you should take your own advice then because I'm glad I just gave you a great fucking history lesson right there.
Propaganda in what I said. It's all facts. I laid out the headlines, the articles, but like I said, there's over 100.
To say that you're not spreading propaganda is probably one of the biggest fucking lies that I have seen since looking at The Real Truth 62 on TikTok.
$100 billion that has been pissed away from the United States government.
76.8 billion. Get it fucking right. You say you don't like propaganda and you're not spreading propaganda? 76.8 billion. Not 100 billion.
Government into Ukraine. I think that money should be invested in roads, bridges, healthcare, free college education, at least for the first 2 years. But if you want to keep spreading pro-war propaganda.
Where were you 2 years ago? Were you advocating for that stuff before the war in Ukraine? Were you advocating for that stuff with any of our other allies? Because we send money to a lot of our allies. Or is it just Ukraine that you hate? We send lots of money. We send billions of dollars in aid to Africa every year, and we don't get shit back from that. We send them billions of dollars in humanitarian aid, and we get nothing. At least with this one, we're doing it in a Lend-Lease format where we're going to get the money back. Eventually. Yeah, it's going to take a while, but like England, they paid off their World War II debts in the year 2006. So Ukraine will eventually pay off their debts. How this works. But I agree. I also agree that the government should be spending more money on our own citizens. But we have the money to do both. It's not like we're just sending over pallets of cash to Ukraine. This is mainly equivalent equipment value, meaning we value something, we figure out what the value of this Humvee is, this vehicle. We go, that's worth $80,000. We're sending over 5 of those. Cool. We're sending over $80,000 times 5 to Ukraine. Put that into the budget. That's now added in there. It's not like we're sending over that much money. We're just sending over that much equivalent value in equipment. And we tend to overvalue a lot of our equipment. But, if you want to say that we should be sending all the stuff that we're sending to Ukraine to, fix the homeless problem, fix the roads, I would love to see what a homeless person's going to do with an MRAP or a tank. Could solve their homeless problem. I guess they could live in it.
It's crazy. We used to be an anti-war. I remember in Iraq and Afghanistan, there was a big anti-war movement. But this pro-war movement, we need to get involved. We need to get involved. Thankfully, is diminishing. People are waking up. They're smelling the coffee. They're realizing, wait, we need to invest in America.
It's not an... I don't even get what you're getting. Yes, there's still anti-war sentiment. But we don't want war. But we're also not going to stand by idly while someone attacks our allies. And before you go, Ukraine's not an ally. Technically, if you go off the Budapest Memorandum, they are. We have a form of agreement with them, a mutual partnership, and we've been training with their troops since 2014. We have an alliance with them. Now, if we back down on them because it's inconvenient, who's to say that the rest of our allies aren't going to do the same to us? Now, I'm not saying that, Ukraine has to be inside NATO, because I'm sure you're going to use that argument. Doesn't matter if Ukraine's not in NATO. We have plenty of allies outside of NATO. We have Australia, South Korea, Taiwan, Japan, the Philippines. None of those countries are in NATO, but we still have alliances with them and we still help them. And you could bet your sweet ass that if Australia got invaded today, we would be on their doorsteps fighting and dying alongside them. But we're not even doing that in Ukraine. We're sending them old, used equipment that we were never, ever going to use ever again. Because it would cost too much money to modernize it, and it costs way too much fucking money to store it. So, again, it's not that people are anti-war. They're not anti-war. They still are anti-war. They just don't want fucking Russia invading a sovereign nation and slaughtering civilians. I've seen this stuff in Ukraine in person. Yes, I was in Ukraine. I went there as an instructor. I will not hide my biases. You can see my Ukrainian flag here. But I'll be damned if you're going to sit here and just spout lies and propaganda and then call other people liars. Because I will fucking beat your propaganda into the ground any day of the week. And I will prove you wrong with sources and citations and facts. And in fact, if you guys stuck around to the end of this, and you guys are watching this on YouTube, all the sources that I used will be down in the description. If you guys are watching this on TikTok, go ahead and click on my link tree. Everything will be there. You can go to YouTube from there.